Hello everyone, Since Sparks Bracket here again. So I got something I'm gonna jam on a little bit while we're cruising around doing some Nagitar dailies. I was actually thinking about this I've been thinking about this for a long minute now, and it's something that I don't know if people have realized. I think I've spoken about it in guild chat and some other things, and I don't know. I feel like this would make a great content video as far as what I see in the future of World of Warcraft. So, the big question that I have on my mind as I'm gathering up about 1,500 freaking things is where the actual hell is Nozdormu? Nobody knows. Nobody knows where that guy's at. We've seen an aspect die, and we had Warlords of Draenor, no matter how good or bad it may have been, actually happen, and he didn't even intervene. He didn't stop anything. Meanwhile, we have the other aspects out there trying to still do their job, or former aspects, whatever you want to call them. And honestly, it's kind of starting to worry me as far as content is concerned. Because one thing that I will point out is that I don't know if Blizzard actually realized that he's still around. Maybe not. I'm not going to sit here and bash Blizzard for their thing. But it's very interesting to think about in what we've seen so far out of BFA and what we're starting to get into. Now, the big question that I'm going to raise here is, did we actually stop the Hour of Twilight? Did we actually do it? I don't know if we did at this point. And here's my thing. The Hour of Twilight didn't even involve Azeroth, to my knowledge. I could be wrong on that. I'm still a little sick, so, you know, maybe it was the drugs that brought me into this delusion. But, wouldn't surprise me. Probably gonna get flagged just for saying the B word on YouTube. But it's something that kind of seems to... It's still bothering me. Where is he? I mean, you would think that he would have shown up and said, I'm over this. Because, you know, Ysera died. And all this other crazy stuff happened. You know, the whole trial for Garrosh happened. And nothing... He didn't do anything. So, here's what I'm going to lay out real quick for people that maybe need a refresher for Nozdormu. Nozdormu is the aspect of time, or was the aspect of time. He's the leader of the Bronze Dragonflight. He was one of the original ones created when the Titans eventually abandoned Azeroth, and they, you know, just went and screwed on off into a corner and left the aspects to deal with everything. So, now that we, you know, have some sort of backstory established, the Hour of Twilight, as we saw it, and as we know of it, you know, it was, this is supposed to be this last moment where the aspects give their power. It's what they were created to do. And they were created to just stop the world from, you know, being completely wiped without, you know, anything else. The Titans made that, and it was this interesting little ploy that, you know, the Titans were like, oh, well, we're not really responsible anymore at this point because we got these 5 dragons dealing with all this. And, you know, maybe they're not really relevant anymore. Here's where I say they are exceptionally relevant at this juncture. There are quests in the game right now where, you know, we know where Rathion's at. He's at the Dragon Isles. Spoiler alert. By the way, if you click this video, there might be some spoilers. So, we know where he's at. We've seen the quest from the Island Expeditions. He's at the Dragon Isles. And we don't know where Alexstrasza is at. We don't know where Nozdormu's at. It's safe to say that we should be a little concerned. We don't know what's going on in these Dragon Isles. And for the actual content coming up, if there's, you know, I'm not going to even go into the leaks because that is something I'll just let everybody else read and make their own mind on. But for what we know in the game as of right now, we know that when Aman'Thul gave Nozdormu his actual powers as an aspect, he showed him his own death. And it was like, oh, well, you will not really be able to prevent it, and this is how you die. I'm going to show you this, and here's that. And, you know, we don't know exactly how he dies. We don't know what all is entailed. Now, I am going to throw this out there, and I could be wrong, it could be stupid, could be me, you know, reading a little too into something, but I feel it's still something we should address. When we look at time and the continuity of the timeways and as, you know, Azeroth as a whole. The word death can be very metaphorical. And from what we're starting to see, Blizzard is leaning towards that. You know, is there a hidden meaning in certain stuff? I don't think he's actually any different in this regard. What if him actually turning into Murozond is technically the death of Nozdormu? I will refer to them from here on out as two different entities, even though we already know he turns into Murozond. Another big spoiler if anybody didn't know. That is what happens to him later on in the future. There's an entire dungeon about it. It's called the End Time, where we have to go stop, you know, Deathwing, and in doing so, when we try to travel back and go acquire the actual Dragon Soul, we're stopped, and it's Murozond that's actually stopping us. It's the Infinite Dragonflight stopping us from doing it. Now, a little back history on the Infinite Dragonflight. According to WoW lore, they were actually corrupted by the old gods. Whether or not that's really going to be something Blizzard sticks to, I don't know. But from what we know at this point, they were corrupted. Very coincidental that now all of a sudden N'Zoth's out there doing whatever the hell he's doing with Ajara, and we're just supposed to kind of ignore their existence at this point. Another thing that I am going to bring up too, and some of the quests in game, we can kind of take as lore bits and maybe certain hints. Why is Chromie sitting out in Mechagon showing us an alternate future for the actual like world as a whole? You know, everybody that's done that daily sees that King Mechagon gets his device working, and it doesn't work right. It literally obliterates everything, and it just gets rid of people that aren't fully mechanized. We've seen that quest. That's how that works. Could be me wrong a little bit again, but we ultimately know what happens. His device does that. Why is she showing us that? Why is she showing us that? If we're going to help, we're going to help regardless. Why is she showing us this? Instead of just letting us, you know, deal with what we're going to do. Nobody knows. I'm not really going to go ahead and say that Chromie's infinite, but I do find it a little odd that you need to show us something that, in all sense and purpose, you're not even really allowed to show us. We can't even know what's supposed to happen in the future. We're not supposed to. Even though we go back and help, you know, the Bronze Dragonflight stop, you know, at the Culling of Stratholme or Hyjal, we go and we stop a lot of these things for them. And we help them do that because the Infinites were going to actually ruin the timeline. The one true timeline. That's their goal. They're supposed to protect the one true timeline. And I just am a little shocked to see Chromie actually doing something like that. Why is she showing us these things? I mean, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say Chromie's infinite because that's just a little too clickbaity. That's just a little too preposterous because she hasn't really been out doing anything wrong. Infinites are out there for their own purpose. She's actually been out there trying to help us. And it's really interesting when you look at it that way because I almost wonder if Nozdormu is technically Murozond right now. I wonder if he's already made the transfer, and that's what he's doing. And, you know, I could see that going one of two ways. One, he's already made the switch because he's seen what's happened to Azeroth, and he can't do anything to save anything anymore. The aspects have lost, you know, a great deal of their power. So now we're left with these, like, half-broke aspects that can pretty much just be killed by, you know, conventional methods. I mean, Xavius just throws the Tear of Elune, and, you know, just straight up murks Ysera, but we kill her later on. It's more of a corruption thing, but in a sense, pretty much just as good as dead. So I almost wonder if he's actually made the change, and he's actually done that. And that wouldn't honestly surprise me, or we have this other route where I almost think that Nozdormu's doing this. I wonder what happens in the Dragon Isles, because from what we've seen from Blizzard, they're out freaking killing people, and it's kind of cool. Big fan of that. Really like Blizzard for that, because, you know, some of these characters need to get phased out. I'm totally okay with that. The ultimate problem that I see with that, though, is that we as players aren't really suspecting what's going to be coming with that. And, you know, that's what makes up a great story, not going to go into detail on that. I almost wonder later on down the road, and this is just my thought, you know, Nozdormu actually, he's a pretty honorable little guy. You know, well, not really a little guy, but he's a pretty honorable dude. And he's sitting there and he's watching the entire world go to hell. And he's like, well, you know, this is kind of insane. We're not supposed to stop this. And I almost wonder if the fact he's not intervening is because this is supposed to be... Where is this damn quest guy? Oh, there he is. I almost wonder if this is supposed to be the one true timeline, where everything just starts happening and he's not intervening. But we don't know that. And that's part of the problem with jacking with time stuff in a game, is because we don't know. We have no freaking clue. We don't even know if the Nozdormu we see right now is actually the Nozdormu in our current timeline. That's what sucks about being with someone. Ooh, this is for 3 people. Oh, no, I'm good. I can whoop his ass. I got this. Might actually be kind of a good break if I can actually just find a rhythm and get a coherent thought going. So, just my thought, that is, you know, the entirety of the continuity of Nozdormu is that he hasn't changed yet. In our current timeline, he hasn't actually, you know, turned into Mermarthur. He hasn't actually made the change. He hasn't been corrupted in a sense. We don't know when that goes. We don't even know when the Infinite Dragonflight is made. So it poses an interesting lore portion of the game where, wow, I'm actually gonna whoop this guy's ass. That's cool. Well, all hail the Brewmaster tank, you guys. So we have don't hit my freaking boy. Get over here. Get over here, asshole. Stop hitting freaking Hunter Arcana. He's out there living his best life. Just trying to swing a sword and stuff. So when you look at the actual continuity of that, we have, in a sense, a multiverse with the combination of, you know, the whole Warlords of Draenor thing. Because the Legion came back with even more knowledge than they had the previous incursions that we've seen. That sort of logic will actually apply towards Nozdormu and Mermarthur. Because he's technically the Time Boy, so he can see all of these things coming. He already knows what's going to happen, and I'm sure he's probably seen certain instances before he lost his power and super Omega dominion over the timeline. So, he knows he can't stop his own death. He knows he can't really change things in order to, you know, stay as true as he is. He cannot change the time way. But when he makes the shift, and when we see, you know, Mermarthur actually doing things in-game and in the lore, we're talking about a dragon that still is able to manipulate the time ways, and he's still able to cruise around and accomplish what he's trying to do. Now, the Infinites, every time we ever go against the Infinites, we win all the time, because they're not as good as the Bronze Dragonflight. Now, we know why, because later on, Bronze Dragons kind of lose their power in our timeline right now. They're already kind of diminished. So that kind of explains why the Infinites are a little weak, in a sense. But it's still really odd to see that Mermarthur is still able to have a mastery over the time ways, where he can just stop actual Bronze Dragon aspect Nozdormu from just going back in time and plucking the dragon soul out of its place. And I hope this hasn't been super much of a ramble, but, you know, I feel that this is one of the most interesting things as far as lore is concerned, is because the last time we really saw him... Oh, what do you want? What do you want? Oh, sweet. Ori, cool, right on. Yeah, go ahead, eat that. Have a good time. So, when we look at the... Hold on, I'm just going to clear this out. Yeah, it's just give me my stupid commendation. I'm not even here for that. I just want honored so I can get your damn thingamabobs. Am I even honored? Oh, I am. I'm barely honored. Oh, cool. Right on. Not you. Not you. Not you. Give me your shit. What do you have? Give me your... No, not you either. Give me your wares. Khajiit has wares if I have coin. Depth forged age. Okay, yeah. Cool. Give me all of this shit, actually. I want all of it. Thanks. Appreciate you. So... yeah, I'm gonna go turn these in, and we're just gonna keep jamming on the whole Nozdormu thing right now. I don't really get or fully understand like why everybody in the game and in lore right now has completely forgotten about the former aspect that is supposed to turn into a dragon that pretty much is going to go around and corrupt the entire timeline. Nobody seems to be mentioning that, and I don't know if that's intentional by Blizzard. Maybe there is more references to that, but I don't see them. Maybe there's something I'm missing. You know, maybe everybody's like, oh, well, the bronzes, they're just not really that good anymore. They're not going to go do anything now. I could understand that too. It's just really odd to me when you see Chromie and Legion talking about her death. In a sense, we kind of prevented that, more or less. Now we're seeing her go around in Mechagon and show us these other things. And it almost makes me wonder, are the bronzes actually, you know, starting to go infinite? We don't really know what happens with them in the future. That's an event to come in game. We don't know if the infinites that we see in the past or in the present right now, we don't know whether or not they are all just former bronze dragons or they're just out able to procreate. We don't really know that portion. I went to the wrong area. Damn you, portal room. Damn you. Let me over this stupid railing. Why can't we just not have this railing? I would be very appreciative of that. There we go. Oh, thanks, Lucia. Thanks, appreciate you. Give me that hug. Come here. Bam! Out of here. Gotta go. That wrong portal. Don't do that. So, it's just a really interesting sort of lore point that I find ourselves at, is that eventually we are going to get to the point where either Nozdormu snaps and he is Murozond at that point, or right now he already is Murozond and he's out doing stuff and we don't know where he is. It's really odd to me that, you know, two of arguably the most powerful beings on Azeroth are just somewhere gone. I mean, they don't have their almighty powers, but they're gone. Where are they? You know, and this is just me putting out another stray thought, is that what if in a coming X-Pack, Alexstrasza just gets murked, and Nozdormu's just the last aspect, just sitting around. It would be very fitting, because he's supposed to be the timeless one, and he's supposed to be the one that actually sees a lot of things happen. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if that's how Blizzard kind of does him, because he'd just sit there, and that's when he snaps. You know, that is when he would snap at that point, I think. So he just sits there and goes, well, everybody that I ever really hung out with is gone, so now I'm just going to go on a freaking crazy thing, and I'm going to go try and fix the world because it's super broken. Now, I don't really know. That seems maybe a little far-fetched in my own head. It really does. Aegis in the deep. Oh, sweet. I got all kinds of things. 5,902. You gain 67 versatility for each enemy within 10 yards, up to 670 versatility. So, basically a max of 10 enemies is what they're trying to tell me. Do I want that or the? I don't really want. I'll put that there. Let's see how that goes. So that, I don't know, that's just my thought. Now that I'm actually here in the heart room, I'll just sit here and still jam on this theory. Sorry about that little freeze in the recording as well. I hope that doesn't transfer over. If it does, I'm not fixing it. I just prefer to run this as an organic sort of thing. So, yeah, I mean, my thought's coming. Nozdormu's gonna frickin' snap. And we're gonna have to go fight him. And I don't know how we're gonna beat him. Because in our current timeline right now, we don't have our legendary weapons or artifacts anymore. We have the Pillars of Creation, but considering we can't even hold on to those, and Ajara got her hands on the Tidestone again, I mean, it just, I don't know how we're going to do that. It would not surprise me in the least if the Infinites get a hold of them. It really wouldn't, and we have to go back and get the damn pillars again. Would not surprise me, at the very least. I really hope Blizzard doesn't do that, because it's just really stupid that we apparently can't trust the Kirin Tor or anyone with, you know, the safeguarding of these actual like super omega whack nasty freaking pillars of creation or any of these relics. We can't even trust anybody with the focusing iris anymore at this point. And we already know what happened with that, even though they got ambushed, but you still get my point. Nobody showed up. Nozdormu didn't show up and do anything. Now, still could be a part of the timeline, still could be anything. There could be a multitude of reasons. I'm not really going to sit here and chalk that up as, oh, that's part of the 1-2 timeline. Right now, in Zoth getting released, that seems to me to be something completely counter to the timeline. Okay, I'm just going to point that out there. I don't know where anywhere in this the heroes of Azeroth would ever be okay with that. Ever. So it just kind of bothers me that we don't see him. It's a little concerning. Now, with going on in the future with Nozdormu and how these things are going to get laid out, in my opinion, I almost wonder if that's going to be an entire expansion where we have to go stop him from frickin' changing a bunch of shit. It wouldn't surprise me if that was close to the last X-Pack, because I could totally see that being like the actual last thing that we do on this world. I don't know how. That might be just delusions of grandeur, which I will fully admit it's a little far-fetched. But it's just really, really strange to me that the most powerful aspect of all is just gone. He's just somewhere. You know, he's able to pull powerful items from other places and do that. And you know, we sit there and say, oh, well, his powers are greatly diminished. They can't see the time waves the full way anymore. We don't even know if they can see the true timeline anymore. Arguably, that's true, and I will say that. But there just doesn't seem to be any effort. And if you're just going to let the mortals just run around, and your dragons that are just going infinite and creating an entirely new mess for this world, and you're not going to stop anything, either you're helping them, or you just don't give a shit. And wouldn't surprise me if it was either one of those. So, my opinion on this, we need to know where he's at. Because eventually it's going to come and bite Azeroth in the ass as far as lore is concerned. Murozond is still a very powerful being. Even up against the aspect of time, you know, his former self at that point. You know, we'll just go ahead and say Murozond that we killed in the end time, a very future version of him. But we have the past, you know, Nozdormu, which is the same guy, even though I consider them two different entities. One of them still had their aspect powers. This one, from what we see, doesn't. Or maybe he does. I almost wonder if he's the one that isn't really affected by the whole Dragon Soul thing. Because it just seems to me that when you have a mastery over time, that you can just... you do things that really you can't stop. I mean, he could just stop time around somebody and just kill them. In theory, he probably could. We just don't see that in game, but I mean, if you have that mastery over time, why would you even bother wasting any sort of seconds on just stopping and, you know, and actually fighting on someone's terms? There's no point. You are the master of time. There's no point. Aman'Thul wouldn't even do that. He's just like, nah, I'm just gonna stop time and go ahead and just hit you right over the face and you're dead. That's just how I see the master of time being actually played out. You know, the aspect of time, even the former aspect, still has that same kind of domain. Even when he didn't have, you know, his powers, he was still on time in the Richard Knack book, which, you know, I mean, I might reference that a little bit. It would not surprise me in the least if he makes a return and we have to go stop his ass. I still don't think we have stopped the Hour of Twilight. I almost wonder if he is what brings the Hour of Twilight. I really do. It just doesn't, I mean, it seems fitting. An Hour of Twilight, you know, it's a very time-based name. You know, the Titans sit there and made them, oh, we're gonna stop, you know, the old gods from rising up. What are they doing right now? Zoth is literally coming back right now. The Black Empire is coming back, like, right now. And we're just gonna go ahead and believe that the first time we had to dump the Dragon Soul into Deathwing and all that, that was the Hour of Twilight. Now, I don't know. Maybe that was. Maybe that was. But it just seems really odd to me that right now Azeroth is in 10 times of a worse state than it was when Deathwing was around. You know, yeah, he came through and burned up some stuff, made some crazy shit, you know. I'm not going to sit there and say that, you know, we're not going to compare wounds here, but we've got 2 cities gone. Continents are just pretty much ravaged at this point. We had Azara literally come back and nearly just do some craziness. And And Nozdormu's not batting an eye at this. I want to know how some of these people have their information as well. I mean, we see N'Zoth like whispering to the characters in game and to Azshara and doing all that, and saying, "Oh, well, they will help us. You know, they're all children of N'Zoth. You know, drink the Kool-Aid sort of thing." And Azshara, you know, when you wipe in the Eternal Palace, she's like, "Oh, he said you guys were gonna help, but you weren't ready." And I don't remember that exact quote. I probably should look that up. So it just seems really funny. I mean, for an old god that doesn't really have the power of foresight like Alxaron did, he knows some things. I almost wonder if he's actually the old god that technically creates the infinite dragonflight or corrupts them, and he, you know, has Murozond under his belt doing all that. This is just me, I guess, spouting crazy theories. Maybe they aren't even coherent. But it's just something I felt needed to be jammed on a little bit, because we're getting to a point where the dragon aspects, or the former dragon aspects, whatever you want to call them, I'll just call them the dragon aspects, because in a sense they still view themselves as the helpers and saviors of Azeroth. They still do. I mean, Ysera came down and helped the Sin Legion. She's like, "No, I'm gonna come help you guys, we got you." Which is still sad. I still cry. But we still have these powerful beings, and they're slowly dying off. They're just slowly becoming irrelevant. And it's really concerning when, arguably in my mind, the last one that I think we're going to see die is arguably the most powerful one. Which is a little concerning. I mean, yeah, Deathwing was powerful, Neltharion was exceptionally powerful. I mean, we can sit there and say that, but we're talking about a dragon that has mastery over time. I mean, Elisand had mastery over time, but I guarantee you it wasn't even on his level. And I don't know what the hell happened back there. Why didn't he come out and stop her? Why didn't he? Maybe he did. Maybe that's why she couldn't keep reversing time over and over. Is that he just showed up and was like, "Nah, you can't be doing that. You are supposed to die right here." We don't know that. There's so many things that we just don't know in this crazy multiverse that we have within Azeroth. And I will say that that is a multiverse of Azeroth, because when the actual, after the trial of, you know, Garrosh Hellscream happened, and, you know, that, I don't remember that dragon's name. I should actually look that up too. I'm actually probably going to do that while we're sitting here jamming on this. When he went back and brought Garrosh back, and we saw, you know, the Iron Horde rise up, and we had to go through WoD, and, you know, we can hate on the lore of WoD. I'm totally cool with that. But what we don't seem to take from the WoD stuff is that the whole Burning Legion thing that happened, you know, the orcs drinking the blood of Manaroth and all that, it didn't really stop. It actually happened again. Yet again. It just happened in a different way. And eventually we saw a Gul'dan come to Azeroth that was 10 times more powerful. Knew far more shit about our planet than he should have known. And the fact that Nozdormu didn't even go and try and stop that tells me something. It tells me that I almost wonder if he is actually Murozond right now, or if he's just corrupted and he just can't see certain things. There's so many different outcomes, and that's what really sucks with messing with time stuff. But that's just my thought, is that we now have a multiverse because the Gul'dan that showed up here knew about things that he shouldn't have known. We had, you know, an Archimond at that point that knew things that he should not have known. We have these characters that we should not have on Azeroth. And it's created this weird rift where the one true timeline has just been looped in with another alternate part. And we don't have anybody saving that or stopping that. I don't know what good it would do to really revert that. Well, we wouldn't have had WoD if Nozdormu would have stopped that. So there's something that he's jacking up on, I guess. But arguably, as far as lore is concerned, the Legion coming this last time, he could have prevented that. And he didn't do it. And it's not like he couldn't see it. I mean, shit. The fact that he had bronze dragons showing up and helping at the trial, I mean, to even do that, to even get that sort of thing going, how did he not know about it? Which is very confusing and concerning to me. I almost wonder if he is Murozond right now out there doing stuff and the bronzes just aren't telling us. You know, like Chromie's not telling us. She's just sitting there going, well, I can't tell you because, you know, if you know now, you're going to want to go hunt him down, or, you know, some stupid got to keep the sanctity of the one true timeline bullshit. At this point, we could just go ahead and say the one true timeline's screwed. There's all sorts of things that are happening that shouldn't have been happening. So, I don't know. That's just my thought as far as Murozond, Nozdormu, we'll just say Nozdormu, going further, is that I almost wonder if we're going to get a raid eventually in-game where we have to go back and we have to stop him from doing certain things in-game. You know, like it's going to be a raid where maybe we got to go stop the Infinites from maybe overturning, you know, the Culling of Strathholm again, or maybe Culling of Strathholm 2.0, except it'll be a little different, or, you know, the Hyjal experience where we have to go back and we have to stop the Infinites once more or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me if I saw Blizzard actually try and update some of these older raids, because we have some of these older raids and stuff, these older dungeons that are really good. It's just they're not really current right now and nobody really cares about them. I could totally see that being brought back through with the whole like time loop that we're in. But lore-wise, that dude's gonna snap soon if he hasn't already. I'm one to believe that he has. And we should be concerned that we're not seeing him, because we really don't know how much power that guy has. I mean, we're talking about a former dragon aspect that somewhere in the future was able to go back in time and stop the actual aspect of time at that time. There's a lot of time in this involved. I hope I'm keeping this right. He was able to stop them from actually going back to grab the Dragon Soul. That's what the end time was. That entire dungeon is a stop measure on Nozdormu to go back and do that. And that was like, the end time was an offshoot of the Hour of Twilight, where Deathwing was killed and there was nothing on the planet, and it was just Twilight dragons roaming around. And it was, you know, an infinite sort of created thing. We don't really know exactly how the actual Hour of Twilight shows up. I mean, the aspects have technically stopped it by the terms that we know. But the actual, like, impending doom that is probably coming, that may be the end of World of Warcraft, or maybe the end of Azeroth as we know it, I think it's still coming. I really do. I mean, we're looking at an Azeroth right now that is in worse shape than it was when Deathwing was around. And I mean, that's an arguable point. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just something I thought I'd jam on a little bit. You know, maybe my delusions and grandeur. I'm AFK. Maybe my delusions and stuff from being on, you know, medicine for my cold kind of broke that out. I don't know why we have a super capable, intelligent mind as Nozdormu floating around, and we don't know where he is. I mean, we don't know where Alexstrasza is, but I'm not worried about her, because she's like, oh, I'll just come down and help you guys when I get the chance. You know, that's all she wants to do. We don't know what Nozdormu wants to do. We have no idea. We don't even know at the current time whether or not the Nozdormu that we'd ever see in our current, like, present situation, you know, in this situation right here, we don't even know if that's the actual Nozdormu of our one true timeline. We have no idea, because he's able to just traverse time. We have no idea. We could be looking at Murozond right now if Nozdormu would show up, and we just wouldn't know. We would have no idea. And that's what kind of concerns me with time screwy bullshit, is that it's just a little too strong as well. But I think Blizzard's done a pretty good job at reining in, like, certain powers and balances of those things. I mean, albeit when you're dealing with, you know, some sort of Time Lord, they are kind of OP, because they can just reverse things and stop things. I mean, when we did the Elasan fight in Nighthold, that's not even really a Master of Time. Mistress of Time, whichever one you want to call. And she's able to just, you know, reverse that and go, oh, well, nope, you're not killing me right here. We'll just reverse that and you guys can start over. Now, that might just be an in-game mechanic. I will admit that. You know, even the Chromie quest, where I think she might be a little infinite, or there's something going wrong. I could totally see that just being like an offshoot daily that Blizzard was like, oh, let's throw Chromie in there. It is a little odd, though, why they would throw Chromie in there like that. Just very, very strange, you know. And there are a lot of quests in this game that are that's lore. Even if it's a daily, it's lore. So I want to know where Nozdormu is. If anybody knows, actually, if there's something I haven't seen, go ahead and let me know. Throw a comment, do something, let me know, because arguably, I think we're going to be seeing one of the coolest X packs is when we have to go deal with a early version of Murazond, or the birth of the Infinite Dragonfly. I think we're looking at a cool X pack at that point, because Blizzard could get really crazy with that. I think part of the thing with the whole time magic and stuff is that, you know, if you're really going to throw time magic into a game and all this, you better make it good. You better make it crazy, super creative, and fun. I mean, I just don't want to freaking show up into a damn game where we're going to get raffle stomped by a bunch of Time Lords when arguably we've beaten them before. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if that's just what happens, is that, you know, Azeroth eventually needs to lose at some point. We don't really lose. We don't really lose a whole lot of encounters. Like, Broken Shores won. Cataclysm was kind of won, in a sense, even though we ultimately won that. You know, but we don't really lose a whole lot of things. And it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, Murazond's able to just plot that out and figure out ways to do that. So, anyway, yeah. Hopefully this was an entertaining, you know, kind of a rant and rave. You know, some of this stuff with, you know, the aspects and with lore, the current status of the game, it really fascinates me because I've seen these quests and I've seen what's supposed to be coming. The Dragon Isles are supposed to be coming now. Now, what would be cool is if Nozdormu was there and he's like, nah, I'm just hanging out. I was kind of chilling. I'd be totally okay with that. But we know in the future he's supposed to turn. So hopefully this was entertaining once more. Go ahead, like, share, favorite, do whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm not even going to do that because this is just, you know, me kind of, you know, ranting and raving a little bit on something I find exceptionally odd that no one may be questioning. So, yeah, hopefully this was an entertaining video. If you have comments or concerns, or if I'm wrong on certain portions of this, go ahead and let me know. I could be wrong. I will fully admit that right now. I could be wrong on these things, but that's just what I see. So, anyways, thanks again, guys. Since Sparks Sparket, signing out.